Hi, I'm Jacek. I'm a software developer with 10 years of experience, but what's more important today, from about a year, I'm heavily invested in research in accessibility in games. And this is something that I want to talk to you today. I'm working in PixelAnt Games, and they wanted me to show you this screen, but I think it's boring, so I will tell you my way. So we are PixelAnt Games. We are part of Sumo Digital, and we make cool games. You may know some of them. And what's important, that's the only way of crunching that we accept. So let's go back to the topic, how to make your game inaccessible in 4 simple steps. And you might ask why we want to have the game inaccessible. Because we shouldn't care. People with disabilities, it's like 15% of the world population. It's merely 1 billion people. And most of them are older and will not play the games anyway, so we shouldn't care at all. And even if you want to think about people with problems with eyes, it's still only 2 billion people tops. And also most of the players are young. The average age is 53 years. And also the game developers are young. And we can prove it easily if you can raise your hand if you are old. Yeah, so yeah, like 3 people, we can ignore you. So basically, developers are not old also. So we should also not care. And I will give you really simple and quick solution to make your game inaccessible. And we will start with step 1. And this is do not plan for accessibility. Do not plan at all. It's very simple. Because if you plan, you will have tickets, you will have tasks, you will have like requirements, and someone will someday check that something is not done. And if we will not plan, we will like skip all of that. And even if someone on the later stage of the development of the game will think like, maybe we should add something as accessibility features, then it's like too late. We already have all the assets, and we don't have the budget to change them. We have all the system mangled as they should be, so it's almost impossible to add something new to this. So then it will be too late, and you will drop it. So this is step 1, do not plan. Step 2, do not give players a choice. Because you are developers, you know how your game should look, feel, sound. Players don't know, they don't know a thing about this. So you shouldn't. And like, for example, if you want in your game some brilliant font that you handcrafted like in a month, you don't want the player to be able to change it to something else. Also, if you have like perfect color palette and your game is focused basically on color, you don't want players to be able to change that. Even if it's very simple, like 2 colors here, you don't want them to change this. And even if they don't see the difference between those 2 and they look for them like yellowish, that's their problem, not yours. UI also, if you have your brilliant UI and you know how to place it and how big it should be, players shouldn't be able to change that. Also, it makes no sense at all. You know how this should look. Or for example, if you have like vivid colors and everything, you know, you wanted this. You ship the game like this. You want it to look like this. And also, if you would like to add all those options, it would look like this, like 50 different options. No one wants to read that and figure out what's this all about. So just don't do it. That's simple. Do not give them options. Step 3, do not playtest your game. That's really simple because if you will test your game, you will find bugs and problems, and we don't like bugs and problems. We do not want them. So just don't find them. That's easy solution. And last, for step 4, if you already shipped your game or really close to it, do not ask for feedback, do not listen the feedback. Because, like I said, players don't know what they want, and they will complain about almost everything. Like, here are some examples, like, text in games are damn too small. What? What are they talking about? Or this one, remappable controls. The game is pain to control. That makes no sense at all. Again, just refunded the game for font size reasons only. This should be illegal to refund a game for reasons like that. Yeah, and another one about the text size. So yeah, it's basically, they will complain, do not ask them, do not listen. That's simple as that. And basically, this is something that I promised you. 4 simple steps to make your game inaccessible. And I think it was that simple that we'll not need any questions. So thank you very much and see you on next year. Okay, just one more thing. What if I told you that we can, with those easy 4 steps, we can do better. We can make a game accessible, and it will be as easy as that, what I told you. But for this to work, I will need you to forget everything that I said from the beginning, and I can help you with that. Just look at the green dot. Done. So, how to make your game accessible in 4 steps. And we'll start exactly the same with step 1. Plan for accessibility. And what does it mean to have good plan? This is like building the feeling that all members of the team need to know that your game will be accessible. Like, it's not like a box that will be taped on the end of the project. This is fundamental part of the game, like visuals, like audio, like gameplay. And it needs to be from the beginning. If you will plan from the beginning, people will make good choices. When the concept artist will draw something, they will know that they need to think about colors to be visible properly, about the contrast. So have the budget and the time for accessibility features. Even if you start planning and you don't already know what it will be, but be sure that all your team know that this is basic part of the game. And if, for example, developers of this game would think about accessibility, they would think that this font can be hard to read. It is, for example, for me, hard to read. They would probably think about other solution, how to make it in different way. And you know what? They did. They added, and this is in the game from the beginning. You have the option to display the same text as easy to read font with white letters on dark background, because they were thinking about this. Exactly the same here. This game is solely based on the color. This is the main mechanic of the game, the colors. And it's really hard to see for people with color blindness. And if you would think about it earlier, there are solutions. And you know what? They did. They added those symbols. And even if you will play this game on black and white, you will see perfectly fine what is what. Here we have the same case. Like green and yellow are hard to distinguish for some people. But they added colorblind mode, and blue and orange are easy to distinguish for everybody. Same here, the scale of the UI. You have the option to auto-scale it, and it's on by default. So whatever size of the screen you have, 4K, 8K, you will still see it like this. Because someone was thinking about this when making game. Exactly same thing here. The background is very colorful. It's hard to distinguish the fighters from the background, but you can turn it to this. And this is feature of the game from the start. And now it's very easy to see what's going on. So think about it. Accessibility needs to be fundamental part of the game. It's way much easier if you do it like this. Step 2, give players a choice. This menu that I showed you, it's not bad at all. It's brilliant. You have all necessary accessibility features in one place. You know where to find it. And what's more important, you can preview what each setting do right here on this screen. You don't need to jump between game and the options because it's already here. If you change the subtitle text size, you will see it here. And that's brilliant. And what's even more important and impressive, that you don't need to search this menu, because when you boot up the game, first thing that you see is accessibility settings. It's right there. You don't need to think how to do it, how to change it, where it will be. You have it here. And this should be a norm for now in games. This is, for example, Apex Legends, and we have like text. This can be hard to read for some people, but you can change the size. It's much easier to read now. So this is one of the settings that should be in the game. If you have subtitles, you should be able to change the size. This is another example. We have the text. It can be a little bit hard to read for some people, and for example, it's hard to read for people with dyslexia. But this game offers you to change the font to font called Open Dyslexic, and this is font that it's made specially to be easy to read for people with dyslexia. And this font is free. You can use it in your games. If you don't like the look of this one, you can also use Comic Sans, really. It's one of the best fonts for dyslexic people. Another option that is worth adding to your game is not only the subtitles, but also the audio description. So if someone that cannot hear will play your game, will not only see what people are talking, but also will be able to read about the explosions, gunshots, and everything like this. Even better, you can do it like in Minecraft, where it will say to you what sound do you hear, but also the direction, like left, right. It's even better. And if it comes to the sound, this is New World. It's also very important to give the possibility for players to change the different types of sounds and their volume. Because maybe someone will be able to hear the text, what people are talking, if he will be able to like lower the volume of the music or ambient sound or other sounds that are in the game. This can really improve what player can hear. Also, if someone is, for example, not able in competitive games, is not able to communicate via talking or is not able to listen, in-game quick chats or something like this is a very good solution. This is from Rocket League. You can really quickly communicate with other players without using microphone at all. Next thing is input remapping. This is very important. Both consoles of current generation have this possibility to globally remap the controls, but it's like last resort. Your game should have possibility to remap controls, because not every player is able to play it on the keyboard or on the controller in the same way. And if you will give them ability to change this, it will greatly improve what they can do in the game. And this is for Xbox, is also available. It's easier on PC, but also not every game have this feature. And we could go deep into input like dead zones of the analog controllers. This all can really help. Those are very good features. But basically, if you will enable the input remapping, players will find a way to make the game playable for them. Another thing that you could add as a choice for a player is something that, for example, is in the Celeste, and this is assist mode. If the game is too hard for someone, or he is not able to physically do some things in this game, you can like change game speed, for example, and it will be a little bit slower and it will be a little bit easier to do some hard stuff in the game. This is something in a really cool game, Unpacking. It's a simple game about unpacking things from the boxes and placing in different places. And for example, some people will find hard to know what things should exactly go to what place. For example, my 8-year-old son have the problem with kitchen stuff. He couldn't do it. And this game have really cool feature of allow items anywhere. And it's like, basically it stops to be a puzzle game and it's just some relaxing experience that you could still enjoy. And that's really good. Okay, so give players a choice. The more options and choice they have, the better. Step 3. Playtest your game. Why we should playtest? What we should find there? Of course, we will find bugs and other problems, but we also can find barriers. And this is most important topic in accessibility. Like, if you don't find barriers, players will find them, and the game will not be accessible for them. And what I mean, the barriers can be split in 4 like regions in games. It's like visual, audio, motoric, and cognitive. And if you want, for example, some of them are really easy to test, and you can do it in your game really easily. For example, I showed you this before. How do we know that this is easier to read? We can check it really easily. And you can do it in your game by post-processing in real time. And it's hard to read, but it's possible. And that means that someone that will have poor sight will be probably able to read it. Same here. We see that for this like simulation, we see that it's really, really hard to tell what's going on. It's much better here. So you can test it in your games. It's not hard to do. Exactly the same thing is with the color blindness. There are some even pages where you can just screenshot your game and put it there and see how it will look for people with different kind of color blindness. Or you can also use post-processing, or for example in Unreal Engine you have like built-in functions to check how the game will look for colorblind people, and we should use it. Like I said, the green and yellow look like yellowish, and this is easy to read. And this is the worst case scenario. This is the worst like combination of colors and color blindness type. Same here, this is the game hue. You can easily see that without the symbols, some of the colors are impossible to distinguish. But with the symbols, it's easy to know what's going on. And if you really have a hard time to find the right colors and you have to use 2, use blue and orange. It's visible almost everywhere. It will be easy to distinguish between those 2. It's also very easy to test your game if it comes to auditory impairments. Like, you just mute the sound and play your game. And if you are missing something, if you don't have like enough information where you are playing the game, you know that something is not right. So this is one of the easiest things to test. It's harder to test motoric disabilities or cognitive disabilities, there are no easy tests, and it's really, really hard to like predict what kind of problems the people will have. That's why we're back to giving the options. More options you will have, the easier will be for player to adjust the game for their needs. And this is really, really important. And it, of course, depends heavily on your game. Like some games will not have problems at all. Maybe it's only black and white game. So you just need to think about your game specifically. And the last part is ask and listen. Because even if you do all those steps that I showed you, you can still miss something. This is the easiest. Like, ask for feedback. Look what people are talking about your game, about other games that are with the same genre or are close to your game. You can find some really clever solutions there. Or maybe you can find some problems that other developers had and didn't be able to fix, or was able, and you can just steal the solution. And I can show you, for example, Deathloop added, after some time, after the release, they added ability to change the colors on some things because it was hard to see what's going on the screen. Exactly the same with Cyberpunk. We have like seizure warning. It was added post-launch. And this is interesting case because it was added after one complaint. One person complained on the internet that they have like heavy seizure, and they added this. Also, for example, like Sifu, it's not that old game, it's like a few months. They are adding accessibility features. So it's never too late to make your game better. You can do it always, and I can easily prove it to you, because there are more games that are adding those features after years, like Dead Cells. They are like 5 years on the market or something like this, and they are adding accessibility features. Like the option to change the colors, change the volumes of different things in the game. And this one is precious. It's Quake. This game has like 26 years. And last month they added accessibility features. So they updated 26 years old game to add accessibility features. So it's really never too late. And some of the best examples of things that you can do in the games, it's like The Last of Us 2. They have this high contrast mode where only important stuff on the screen is have the color, and you can change the color of everything, what you want to see there. And also they have some additional options like auto walking to the next checkpoint, auto aiming, and so on. And this is the game that one blind player was able to finish alone, without help of other people. Blind, totally blind player was able to finish action adventure game. And that's impressive, really. Forza Horizon, they have a lot of options from the start, but they also adding sign language, and both American and British sign language. This is this is rare. Like, it's like one of 3 games maybe that have this feature. But deaf people will confirm that for them it's better to see sign language because they have not only the text. Text don't transfer the emotions or anything like that. And sign language can. So it's much better for them if it's possible. Another example is, again, Apex Legends, and this is the ping system. And it's great. You can ping almost everything on the map, And you can mark anything for other players, like I see the enemy, I will go there, you should go there, and anything like this. And most of the stuff is context sensitive. So the game knows if you are clicking on the enemy, it's automatically say, okay, this is the enemy. If you do it on, for example, looted box, it will say, looted box there. And this works really, really great. And you can cooperate with other players, never hearing what they are saying, just by those pings. And it's even faster than talking to them, most of the time. Another one is the Spider-Man Miles Morales, and it's also high contrast mode, and a lot of features like, do you like, or maybe I will ask you, do you like QTE events, like in games, when you need to mash the button or press some combination? Thank you. So almost no one likes the stuff. And in this game you can disable it. You can change it from tapping to holding the button or disable it at all. And this is important not only for people with disabilities, because, for example, I was bored with mashing this button like in 5 minutes in the game, and I disable it. And this comes to the so-called curb cut effect. I don't know if you heard about it. It's like when the cities started to make curbs cut for the wheelchairs, people in those cities quickly realized that everybody is using this, not only people on wheelchairs, bicycles, everyone is using those. And this is exactly what is happening with almost every accessibility feature that you can add to your game. This feature will be probably used by many people, not only with disabilities. I'm using a lot of those on daily basis. I almost always play with subtitles because I find hard to focus sometimes, and for me it's much easier to have the subtitles there. I don't like QT events. I disable them because they are like, I feel tired quickly by them. So every option that you will add to your game will be used by more players than you think. And Ubisoft made some research on this, and if they were checking the number of players that is turning on subtitles, it was about 50%. But if they released the game with subtitles turned on by default, over 90% of the players leave them as on. So this is something that you need to remember, that more options you will give, the better, and think about which of them should be enabled by default. And basically, that will be all. I showed you 4 simple steps to make your game inaccessible, and 4 steps to make your game accessible. And it's depending only on you if you will make, what choice do you make, what road. And I hope that soon all games will be accessible just by default. It will be normal, like perfectly normal. Okay, thank you very much. If you have any questions about the accessibility feature, you can ask me right here, or you can write me an email. You can scan this QR code and you will have my email also. And you can write me, or you can go to our stand. We will be still here a little bit, and you can just ask me there or here. Thank you very much.
Hi.
Hi.
So I wanted to ask, what do you think about the games that are like inaccessible by design, like from software games and all the gamers?
Okay, this is a really hard topic because difficulty is one thing and inaccessibility is different thing. And this example of Dead Cells, this is also Souls-like game. It's really, really hard. And I personally think that it's much harder than, for example, Elden Ring. And it doesn't stop them to add accessibility features. Because even if the From Software games, difficulty and like especially the From Software games, they're like you should fail, you should get back, try again, fail, and learn in this. And if someone is have any disability, it's not problem for them. They still can do it, but give them possibility to play the game at all. Because if you don't give them options to remap the controls, they will not be able to even play it. So they cannot fail and rise back and try again. So this is very important. If you give them the options, they will, because you cannot make the game perfect for everybody. But if you give them options, they will customize the game the way that they will be able to play it. And then it doesn't matter if the game is hard or not for them.
Okay, thank you.
I hope that answers your question.
Hey, so I have a question about maybe what do you think if maybe like big companies like Sony for PlayStation or Microsoft for Xbox should put out like a first-party library to support that stuff, that accessibility stuff, or maybe like the platform should support it?
Yeah, it would be great. And basically Microsoft already started this, and they have like accessibility guides for Xbox games and also for PC games, and this is a great source of information also. And even if you go to like Xbox shop with the games, you can filter the games by the accessibility features, and they have like process of checking some of the features, and they are tagging the games with, yeah, in this game you can remap controls, you can turn on subtitles, and so on and so on. And this is really step in a good way, but it's still not mandatory. It's like good things that are good to have. And for example, in the streaming industry, like video on demand, you have like strict rules. You have like subtitles to be this big for this time, and your production will not ship if you don't make it like this. And games are not in games it's not mandatory yet, unfortunately. So the platform or something that would be required would be great.
Hi.
Hi.
I want to ask you, what do you think about using accessibility options to have advantage over other players in PvP games? Like for example, in PUBG, you can use color blindness mode to change color of the blood to blue, for example, if you use Tritanopia, and then you see it better that you hit a player or not. So it makes the game easier. You have advantage over other players.
Okay, this is tricky. It's much easier in the games that are not competitive. Like for example, Forza Horizon have this problem. They still have, where players were using accessibility features like turning on autopilot, auto drive, auto brakes, and so on, to play the longest race in the game over the night without even interacting with the controller. And in the morning they had like ton of money and a lot of cars. But it's like single player experience. It doesn't bother other players. So it's, yeah, if you want to cheat it, cheat. Yeah, it's basically for that. If players are using this for that, it's like cheating. But it's, okay, it's your problem. But in the competitive games, it's much harder, and I personally think that still those options should be there if it's really that advantageous to the players, and they are really using it on competitive level, then probably there is already something not good in the game design, because then sooner or later, everybody will be using this, because it's giving the advantage. So maybe there should be some change in the game at all on the bigger level, because that means that something is not right already in the game. But it's really hard topic, and it's really dependent on the game, because you can still, like most of the CS:GO players, play with lowest settings to have the faster reaction time, more FPS, and so on. So it's like, okay, if you're making tournaments, then maybe enforce some of the settings on the game to everybody is playing on the same settings. It's really hard, and it heavily depends on the game. Thank you. Okay, I think that's all. So thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you very much.